Macaroni with the chicken strips.
All right, I'm gonna go through how to cosplay Usopp, every piece of like a very basic Usopp costume. My costume, pretty basic, not too hard, but I'm gonna walk through each and every single piece of it just in case you were wondering how maybe you could cosplay Usopp, because I think there should be more Usopps in the world, more Usopp cosplayers. And definitely stay till the very end because that's when I get into the Kabuto and the nose. But there are some other parts I think are really important that I'm gonna go over first. And you know what? I'll put the nose wherever I want. Really surprise you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Worst Gen Workshop, the worst One Piece fan club in the entire world. And today I'm going to teach you how to make an Usopp cosplay using things that you can just buy from Amazon or make if you so choose. This is just how I do it, and I've done little modifications to my Usopp cosplay over the years. Okay, so let's say you're a beginner cosplay, you don't know where to start, and something like Usopp is like this giant project that is super hard for you. You don't know how to sew or really do anything artsy or craftsy. Well, if I had to start anywhere, I would probably start with the butt. When you're eating an elephant, you want to start with the butt, obviously. So let's talk about the pants. All right, so Usopp wears these suspenders, and if you're unfamiliar with like using a sewing machine, I believe that pants or shorts are one of the best ways to actually learn how to sew. I believe when you do anything, if you're trying to learn something, you should do a project to completion rather than just get caught up with technique and stuff like that. Like that's a good starting point, but really aim to try to do a project to completion to learn a skill. The hardest thing about these pants was threading the elastic to make the waistband. That's just annoying. The cuffs weren't bad. I just sort of put them on. For the red straps, I originally used like these, I guess, cords, not cord. For the straps, you could really use anything. You could use fabric. You could buy some faux leather straps from Amazon or whatever belt material you want. You just gotta find a way to adhere that to the inside of the suspenders. Okay, so for the front panel, I used foam just because it was the cheapest material. You can use a lot of things. You could even use like a brown paper bag from Trader Joe's, honestly, but I think foam's one of your best bets. You can also use faux leather or whatever you have the money for. I still use foam. And for the buttons, I just use gold colored buttons. And here again, if you don't have access to gold colored buttons, you could paint something gold or you could just make cutouts and it would be fine, or just yellow circles. It's totally fine. Doesn't matter too much. I just like the buttons because they look nice. And then for the waist and for the outline, I used fake fur, and that's a little annoying to work with too. What you want to do is make sure that it's not shedding everywhere or like coming off. And a way you can do that is using a lot of hot glue or an adhesive to just keep that under control. All right, so for the goggles and headphones, hold on, let me hold up the goggles too. So let's start with the goggles. So what I did for these here goggles was I cut a styrofoam ball in half. That might be super hard to do. Honestly, this was a pain to do. I had to sort of scoop out the inside so it would go over my ear, and I sort of did a hack job of it. So I'm sure there's a better way. But what you want is some way to get this dome shape. What I did was once I had the dome shape, I painted it, and then I wrapped some craft foam around this part to give it that sort of raised area of Usopp's headphones. Now for the foam, I took a marker cap and just stabbed it so I could get little circles in his headphones. I know in the anime and the stage show at Universal, these things are raised rather than being just circular indents. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. Here, I could definitely do a cleaner job by a distance. It looks fine. This is really this right here is a foam hairband that I'm sorry. This right here is a hairband wrapped in craft foam, and everything's put together with hot glue. And I've over time I've worked with some contact cement in certain places. You don't want to use contact cement on the styrofoam ball itself though, because the acetone in it will dissolve it, and we don't want that. For the goggles, I really just bought some red lensed goggles and then painted them very carefully. It's still a little bit messy, but let's call that bowel damage. And I went over it with some Mod Podge. Then for the straps, originally they were black. What I did was I took the same elastic they used for the waistband and just painted it so I could get the white goggle strap that Usopp has. And I think it turned out pretty well. And for the armband, it's really just a sock. It's not fancy. I think it looks really good though, personally. So I like this arm sock because it's elastic. So, and I use acrylic paint to sort of just paint it, and I blocked it off with scotch tape. What this does is, because of its elasticity, it gives contour to your arm. I think that looks really good. The edges of the sock are a little frayed. I think that adds like a lot of character to it. You want to keep this part, the top of like a normal sock, just around your wrist, just because it looks really clean. That's just how I like to do it. Now, for the hat, let me grab. I've been using this hat for a long time. I think I could definitely make a hat like this, but in a pinch, this was great. I just bought off Amazon. At the time, I didn't have the skills to make a hat, so I just bought it and worked perfectly fine. I'm not wild about like how the shape. It's a little more domey, and Usopp's hat has those little ridges, but it's good enough. And what I do with this hat is I attach a jumbo afro to it. That's really the only afro that I would ever use for, say, a Brook cosplay, or how much. Yeah, Usopp has a lot of hair, so this jumbo afro works perfectly fine. Now, right now, I use sort of like this curly lace front wig that I styled a little bit. That look is super good, in my opinion. I use it when I want to go, hatless, so more natural Usopp look. I think it looks pretty good. I like it a lot, and it's not too top heavy, so it's not falling off of me. And I have black hair, so it generally looks pretty good on me. Also, with this jumbo afro wig, I've been sort of snipping pieces off of it over years and using it to do the soul patch. So I don't paint on the soul patch. What I do is I'll take a double-sided adhesive, like fabric adhesive, or maybe something like Cause Bond, just stick a little bit of hair on it, and then just press it down my chin before I do my makeup. And it looks so natural. And I trim it a little bit if there's like a stray hair or something. It looks really good because it's real. It's hair. It's pretty sick. You can subscribe for the Kabuto. All right, so the Kabuto is probably like the easiest part of the costume, almost. Not really, but it's pretty simple. It's a very easy to make prop. What you can do is you can take really any cardboard tube. I just happen to have like really stiff cardboard tubing that was a good dimensions. Put a little foam at the bottom, wrapped it up with some medical bandages I had lying around just to do this part. And then I took one of those foam green wreath things, just hot glued, stuck in the tube, just sort of twisted it in to get that part done. Then I took some craft foam to like do these little spokes and again glued it in. Then I took some rigid, not semi, not. Then I took some string, not so much string, but this like leather. Then I took this like leather thread, and the reason when you want to do something like leather or maybe like even wire is because you want something that's like rigid enough that this thing doesn't get tangled, because when this gets tangled, it's an absolute pain. So nothing that's like super like flimsy. You want to use something like with some rigidity, just so you can do not have this tangle. And with this little pouch, I really just hot glued a couple of random pieces of fabric into a little pouch, and then stuck a marble in it just to give it some flavor, and then attached the strings to it. Nothing too complicated. Here I have the string glued in. These little knots here just for accuracy's sake. So these knots just gave more surface area for gluing. And here I just sanded this down with a Dremel just to make it more Kabuto like. And what I used to paint this was not spray paint, but just fabric paint, because that's what I had. I had leftover black fabric paint, and it's done a really good job. Like, it dries super quickly. I was able to do it super well without really priming anything, and then I covered it with Mod Podge just because I thought that was a good idea, and it's worked for a couple of years now. A big fan of it. So subscribe for Kabuto. All right, so the moment that you've been waiting for. So when I first started doing Usopp, I was really big on making a clay mold for the nose, and then just dabbing liquid latex on that, and it would come out fine. But then I had got money, and I was like, I don't like making noses all the time. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of messy, and sometimes the noses mess up. So what I've been doing now is buying the Pinocchio Wuchi nose off of Amazon, and then just painting with Pax paint, just to get like a good base coating down. Now, I might actually start using grease makeup and maybe a little bit of foundation instead, just so I don't have just so the nose is a little bit lighter on my face. The reason for this is the Pax paint works really well, but sometimes I put too much paint on, so the nose gets heavier. So God, hear it with spirit gum, and if it's too heavy, it's kind of a pain. It's usually fun. It's usually fine. So really, this is just a latex nose painted with Pax paint, but you could use makeup. You could use really anything you think would work. I think Pax paint or grease makeup is what you're gonna want to use. And of course, before putting anything on your skin or on your face, do a little patch test. So a patch test is when you take, say, spirit gum. Maybe you're allergic to it. You don't know yet. So what you do is take a little bit and you'll put it on your elbow. And if it flares up and causes an allergic reaction, you probably don't want to put it on your face. So always do a patch test before putting anything like an adhesive on your face. And that includes like Pax paint. Now, oh, important note. So Pax paint is a mixture of prosthetic adhesive and acrylic paints. And you really just use it to paint the latex prosthetic. I've used it on skin before. It's pretty, good, but it will dry your skin out. Probably not great for you, but it does work if you're trying to do like a costume that requires full body coverage, like or like part of your body to be covered. I wouldn't use Pax paint on a full body. That sounds impossible to just wash off. Don't do it. I definitely want to make Usopp noses again. I feel like I'd be better at it, but in a pinch, the witchy nose is perfect and does not take a lot of effort to paint. And let's see. Oh, bonus tips. So when I do my Usopp makeup, I like to do those little like line things. And when I go underneath the eye with eyeliner, I will just go halfway. I think it looks like a little bit nicer that way. Eyebrows, I just fill in my eyebrows. It's not fancy. And if you need like a basic makeup tutorial for like males or something like that, let me know in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching this whole video. I'm sure at least one of you wants to cosplay Usopp, and if you don't, you probably should. I think we should have more Usopp cosplayers because I know like there are One Piece groups who just want an Usopp cosplayer, and you know I'm flattered when people ask, but I think they only want me because I cosplay Usopp. It's not because they think I'm funny or silly or goofy.